If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Tactical Tequila Podcast. We have John Melvin on from Montagave. And as you see here, I have two expressions from Montagave. I have the Los Rocas and one of the first explorations that you guys did in Bordeaux barrels.
That's volume 1. That's it, man. That's awesome.
How many bottles were made of that?
So for volume 1, it was just under 1,000 bottles. Yeah, it was in the high 900s. And actually on that volume 2 release that we just put out, it's fairly similar quantities, 4 barrels as well. A little bit fewer bottles came out of this recent edition, a little bit more angel share, which accounting for the 34 months that were in those casks makes sense.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the brand. I know there's quite a few people that listen to the podcast that know about you guys, but you know, for those that are just tuning into Tactical Tequila, let us know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks first and foremost for having me on. It's awesome to visit with you and drink some Montagave with you. I've got Las Rocas as well here in front of me, and then we've got a little bit of the volume 2 with the Sauternes cast as well. So we'll be getting into some of that together, which I'm excited about. But yeah, so Montagave, that's a brand that my wife and I started a couple years back. It's been a project in the making for nearly 4 or 5 years now. And the origin story of the project was actually around our wedding. We got married over in France and actually served this tequila over at our wedding as a fun way to symbolize our two cultures coming together, that being Texas and French. And the kind of origin story on the product itself was, we had sourced a bunch of Cascaween and then some other expressions off the shelf, and sourced a French oak wine cask. Ultimately ended up bringing it in from California. It was a silver oak cask that we picked up in Vail and brought it to our living room up in the mountains of Colorado, and dumped, liters upon liters of Cascaween into this barrel and left it there for the first 6 months. And after 6 months, we took it out and, tasted it, and it was awesome. And we put it into other bottles and muled it over to France for our wedding. And we served it there and gave it to friends and loved ones as kind of a gift, and also as a way to celebrate, Texas meets France. And the crowd went wild there, and it kind of grew out from that. And so, made a few more batches in our living room. And after probably the third batch, we knocked on the door of the Rosales family down at 1123 and asked them for, their perspective and their feedback on some of the juice that we had been just crafting in our living room, but, thought that it was interesting and differentiated and was something that we hadn't really seen in the market, done at that level, at that quality. And so, asked Chava and Salvador Senior and, the rest of the family to sit down with us. And so we shared, bottles of Bordeaux and Sauternes and, this big tequila that we had crafted, and got their feedback, and they really enjoyed, the expression, and the pitch really was, trying to introduce something into the market that hadn't been done, but doing it at such a high quality every single time that we're going to get really delicious flavors, quality or quantity, of course, but do it in ways that the market hadn't really seen. And at that point in time, 99% of the tequila that was out there was bourbon and American oak cask, if it was going to be a rested expression. And there hadn't been a lot of exploration into these other casks. And from my whiskey making background and some of that other history there, I knew how much these casks could actually contribute to flavor profiles. Really, once you get past 6 to 8 weeks, really, in some casks, there's a lot of contribution there. And I think what we thought was that we could put really a lot of focus on this élevage, kind of this cellaring in this cask, to create a product that hadn't been seen in the space yet. And thankfully, Chavo and the team there got really excited about it and said, let's do this thing. And we found ourselves in the business.
So had you went to any other distilleries prior to, or was it just straight to Cascaween?
So we had other folks kind of as we were building out the list, but Chava and the team there, they're the number one, the number one distillery that was on our list for sure. And we, kind of cold called them, effectively a few times, and we're sending emails and trying to get in front of them. Mm-hmm. And we were able to do that. And that was our number one choice by far. So we were very thankful that, that we were able to get in there and collaborate with the family there.
Nice. And you said that you and your wife started this this tequila company. How did you guys meet?
So we actually met at a reggae jam band show in the mountains of Colorado. And she was, it was awesome. It was a band called Nonstop that was a jam band from Boulder. And she was visiting. She was at the time in law school out in California. I just sat for the bar out there and was taking a trip out to Colorado, and we met there at the show, and I basically made up every excuse that I could find to try and hang out with her more, and and ultimately dated for about a year and a half, then got engaged and married, and we've got 2 young kids and started a business together, so it's been going great.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you, man. No, that's awesome.
And so, as a husband and wife team, how do you guys navigate the challenges that you face, one with both being married and both now more or less business partners?
Yeah, totally. No, well, it's awesome. So, I mentioned earlier that she was in law school. So having, the in-house attorney on our side is extremely helpful. And, I think probably the craziest part of our business is managing logistics in 3 different countries, France, namely Mexico and the U.S., and being able to manage all functions of that. Lucie speaks, French and Spanish, English. And
nice.
So that's really helpful. And then of course she's also, the sounding board for all of the crazy ideas that we have for, the royal we in this case, around different, cast finishing and, the different exploration series that we're throwing around. And sometimes she helps reel it in a little bit. So so it's helpful in that way too.
So with that, you would say that each role, so she's more or less in-house counsel and business partner, and so what's the day-to-day between both of you?
Yeah, totally. So so in-house counsel, absolutely. I think the operations component as well. There's a bunch of help there. And then, she and I will try and get out in the market together as much as we can. Of course, now with 2 young kids, it's a little bit different where one of us generally is looking after, the youngins. And so, we'll kind of split that. I'd say, more often than not, I'll probably be the one that's going out in the market and kind of working some of the sales and marketing functions. But yeah, definitely, a partnership and tons of teamwork, and without her, there's no way that this thing happens. So very thankful.
That's good. And, it's amazing to have a partner like that, both, as a spouse and, through business.
Right.
What would you say that sets Montagave apart from others on the market, particularly when it comes to being additive free and focusing on the purity?
So I think, when we were looking at the space and we're trying to understand what the business opportunity was in tequila, we were really focused on the differentiation that we could have within the market. We knew that if we were going to go into this business, we wanted to do everything at the highest possible quality. There would be, skipping no step. It would be just the highest quality inputs that we could possibly find. And, so that's what led us down to Cascaween. Cascaween is one of the smaller artisanal distilleries that's out there. They have their house brand Cascaween that we're the biggest fans of, and, a handful of other brands they produce, Siembra Valles and Wild Common and Gran Legato, El Negocio and Montagave and a couple others. But, by and large, they're really focused on just extremely high quality production. And what we wanted to do was provide kind of this new perspective on the élevage, on the how we cellar, how we rest in these interesting casks, how we source these casks, the granular methodology around that and how we find those. But then also, how we're proofing things down, how we're managing that process. And so there's a lot of kind of these functions that I think a large percentage of brands that might not be their focus, so to speak. And for us, that's everything. That's what makes the brand. And so it's a huge part of where we spend our time. We feel that if we do a good job in all those elements, we're going to have a beautiful product that will shine, that will be appreciated by connoisseurs, but also folks that are just getting into high quality tequila. And in that way, we can have a sustainable business.
Well, I can tell you just from, I cracked these bottles just before the podcast to let them breathe.
Amazing.
And this was the first time that I've tried both. And, I was very hesitant on ever opening this bottle just because it's so limited. And that's probably what's going to happen with, the next volume, because I have one of those on order too. But, my fear was I'm going to love this and I'm going to want to drink it all. That was my fear. And, you have amazed me with this one. And I'm not a big Añejo fan, but I could definitely drink on this all day. Like if I were to drink on it. Now with this one, hands down going to be one of my new top favorites. Like it's the cooked agave, the minerality that you get in it. Like I like a very mineral forward and agave forward tequila.
Me too. Yep.
And I feel like you've achieved that with this one.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you so much. That means a lot, man. We appreciate that. That's it's so much fun to be able to visit with you while you're actually getting into these bottles. That's really cool. And the idea with the volume 1 of the Añejo was it was truly this exploration concept, right? We really had no idea where this was going to go. All we knew that we were going to start with an extremely high quality base juice, and then these extremely high quality casks as well that are coming in from Grand Cru producers over in Bordeaux. And in this case, we had a single barrel that we had produced for a client in Colorado, and then we had 4 other barrels that were laid down at that same time. And when we were pulling that single barrel to see how it was going, and we were blown away by it, we ended up also looking at these casks, these 4 other casks, and they were all so different and so interesting to compare because they were from the same producer, same vintage, so same varietals on the grape side of things. They had been filled at the same time with the same proof, but they're all coming in very different ways. And it was such a cool experiment for us because, again, with us being a very new brand, we weren't quite sure how it was all going to work out. They had different things going for them, but ultimately with Chava and Danielle and Benjamin down there, we decided to run a little 4-barrel blend and see what that would do to it. And really loved how, you still got a lot of agave, but the expression of kind of this dried stone fruit really started to come out, and thought that was really amazing. And so, yeah, we're excited with the way that this one came out. And I think what's really fun is you'll see with the volume 2 and then volume 3, all of these are going to be very different from each other. But kind of in the same wheelhouse of trying to explore the flavor frontiers that are out there.
Nice. So with that being said, in your new release that you have going on, what inspired you to do the Sauternes casks?
Yeah, so Sauternes is it's a dessert wine from the Bordeaux region in France. It's made from pressed Semillon grapes and these grapes in this area of Bordeaux have there's a fungus basically that attacks some of these grapes, and it's called noble rot, and it turns the grapes into raisins. And the raisins, they then pick those and they press those, and that's why you get a wine with much more kind of sugar profile, so that you can actually measure how much sugar is in each kind of liter of this wine. It's staggering. So usually Sauternes will be used as a dessert wine. In France, it's paired with foie gras and a few other things. But it's one of my favorite wines, and also one of my mother-in-law's favorite wines and Lucie's favorite wines. And so, was able to drink some of this, since we've been together, and start to really appreciate, the things that are going on in that expression. And, when we started looking at some of the different casks that we could source, and we were calling on some of these producers, Sauternes was kind of at the top of the list of an expression that we wanted to explore. In the whiskey world, for example, there's plenty of whiskeys that we use Sauternes casks for a finish. And we wanted to see what that would do to agave. You tend to pick up in Sauternes, notes of honey, sometimes citrus, some tropical fruits like ripe banana or some other things like that. A lot of floral elements. And we thought that could pair really well with kind of the agave minerality, earthiness, create something that was really complex, but also very unique. And it was so interesting kind of tasting this along, its journey. We got to, call it 6 months and tasted it, and it was good, but weren't really blown away. And, fast forward to 12 months and kind of same concept. In 18 months, it was malolactic and kind of briny and cheesy and funky. And so we were wondering if it was just going to go in that direction, and got a little nervous, to be honest. So we just let it go for a little while. And, then we came back to it after 2 years, and it was starting to take shape in a little bit different way. And then we tasted it again at 34 months. And at that point, we were just blown away, because in 10 months or so from tasting it previously, it had gone in a completely different direction and had integrated, and it was, this incredibly soft, like silky velvet mouthfeel. The honey absolutely came through. The agave absolutely came through. The floral component came through. And then you also, if you know what Sauternes tastes like, you definitely got some of that element. And it's a very delicate, a very delicate wine, but the way that it integrated with this expression made it, quite robust yet refined. It was a really interesting experience for us. So, so we were blown away by it. And then, Chava tasting it, seeing his first reaction was just, one of the most special moments ever, to see him kind of take a step back and say, wow, like, we need to bottle this right now. Was really fun. So we're really excited about it. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
I'm excited to try it. Now, so in that whole process, like, at what point do you either pull the plug and say, yeah, we don't know about this, or do you just say, you know what, let's just roll the dice and let's just see where it goes?
Yeah, so far it's been a roll the dice kind of deal for us. But I think what's funny is that we don't tend to rest to like designation. We're kind of designation agnostic, which means that we don't really care if it's an añejo. We don't really care if it's a repo or an ex añejo or any of these things. What we're trying to do is get to a flavor profile that creates incredible amount of emotion for us, that creates this enjoyment, this just raw enjoyment, from drinking the spirit. And so, for us, yeah, this was 2 months shy of an extra añejo, and we had plenty of people that were like, wait, why don't you guys just wait for the XA? And we said, well, look, first and foremost, we're about flavor. And also, when we're collaborating with Chavo and the team at Cascaween, and we all feel so strongly about how something is acting right now, and we know how quickly it can change within weeks. We want to be able to bottle kind of this magic up, while we have it in that current state. And so I think that's the most important piece for us.
Well, and I mean, so even just the change that it went from 34 months to, when you started to bottle, like, it went from that lactic to now all this sweet, velvety, the flavors that you're getting off of it. Just imagine if you did the XA, the flavors could go either even sweeter or, just take a hard left turn. And then, at that point you're going, man, we should have bottled it back then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it could go, it can go tight on you, right? Which means like it can kind of close up. You don't get that same explosive expression of the different, profiles that you get. And we've had that happen, like the volume 1 edition, for example, tasted along its journey, and it was tight for 7 or 8 months. Basically, after it became a reposado, it was just reserved. Maybe. And then, at 13 months, it all just kind of came together. And that's what was exciting to us, is to see this develop in different ways. And you don't know how it's going to develop. It's definitely a roll the dice kind of deal. But, the best thing that we can do is just use the highest, quality inputs that we possibly can and track it along, its journey and taste it along the way. And that's, a fun part of the job.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hopefully one day I'll be able to do a single barrel, pick for Tactical Tequila.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
We'll see where that goes. Going into the Las Rocas edition, you guys use a 10-ton concrete egg, and this is a concrete egg that was made just for you guys, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so 10-ton wet, 5-ton kind of dry weight, and then we about 10 foot tall. So you walk up to this thing, and it looks like a UFO or something along those lines. Like it's a very bizarre looking piece of equipment, but traditionally used in winemaking. So the concrete egg has been concrete, and these amphoras, which were made out of clay, have been used for hundreds and thousands of years. And these concrete eggs are used to create the circulation within the vessel. So you get this interaction with the porous material, get this interaction with the material that's Portland cement, which has a higher pH than the liquid that's in there. So what that tends to do is it'll raise the pH value. And when you get an increase in that pH, it can round out some of the edges and create really kind of orbital mouthfeel that's very full and silky. And that's one of the things that we love most in the wine world. That's when folks use a lot of this concrete to create kind of that texture, but for varietals that have this pepper element or this kind of this earthy element. It's used frequently in Côte de Rhône, actually, and which is one of my favorite areas for winemaking. And so we drew the connection to this earthy minerality presence, and said, I wonder what would happen if we made a concrete egg and rested our juice in that. And so we did about 8 months of experimentation with concrete and products, and finally got to a point where we thought we could pull the trigger on it. And it was a big investment for us, as a bootstrap brand, but it was one thing that was definitely aligned with our brand values, which are trying to take some risks and innovate and experiment, but do things at a very high quality, and do it with a slightly different perspective, and never just be throwing a label onto a bottle that Cascaween wants to produce themselves, and always try to be collaborating with them, in the best way that we can.
And so, what I gather is that wine has I would say, ultra big influence in your tequila making. What else inspires you, in order to make such a great product?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I thought I was into wine, and then I met Lucie's family, and was really, was really blown away. Lucie's folks, for generations, they've been buying birth year, vintage, cases of Bordeaux and Burgundy and great wines for kids and grandkids and other folks like that. And so, to go over there and be able to taste, some wine from 1991, our birth year, and Burgundy, Premier Cru Burgundy. You go and you have a Grand Cru Bordeaux from 91 or 89 or 2005, or some of these great vintages. You go into the cellar, and there's like a bottle of Sauterre that Lucie's father has from Chateau de Chem in 1947 that it was just crazy. Like these.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, just absolutely insane wines that here in the U.S. I think a few people have an appreciation for, but I just didn't know until I went over there and got to experience that. And so that was a big deal for us. But also, I think my background. So I worked for Grain to Glass, so whiskey distillery outside of Austin called Andalusia, and studied abroad in Scotland to get closer to whiskey making. And single malt was like my first love. Had a little keg still out at our family's property where we would make a little fruit brandy and sugar rum and other things like that. And so I was always interested in, wine and spirits. My folks grow nearly a dozen Côte d'Rône varietals outside of Austin as well. So about on an acre and a half. So I was always interested in the space, and was interested in, how a great bottle of wine or spirits or great food can enhance a moment with friends and family. And, when you bring people around a table and, somebody's been cooking a brisket for 20 hours or something like that, and you're like, this is an expression of love. This is an expression of, kind of this giving, this graciousness, right? That I think is really interesting and can really enhance a moment with other people. Same thing goes for a great bottle of wine or a good bottle of tequila or something like that. And so I was always interested in how that worked and wanted to do something in this space because I thought that was a really beautiful element.
And see, for me, like I was a home brewer for many years. I ended up winning a silver medal here in the state of Nevada for one of my honey pilsners.
Amazing.
So, the whole process of how tequila is made, the distillation, fermentation, everything, like I understand it, and it just fascinates me, just like how the things work. I have a cousin who's into moonshine in Florida. Just opened his second location outside of Kissimmee, and it's just like, man, making a great product like that and seeing the process and all the intricate steps on how it's made is just mind-blowing. How you can get so much flavor from a small bottle like this.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, it's so cool. We
Yeah.
pinch ourselves all the time. Yeah, we pinch ourselves all the time because I'll say my favorite experience is always when Lucie and I go down to the distillery and we're meeting with the family. And have you been to Cascaween yet?
I have. I've been there 3 times now.
Wow, good for you, man. Yeah, that was one of my favorite places in the entire world. And walking, through the door there, and you see the ovens and the entire process, but then you walk back to the left and you're in the courtyard, with these papaya trees and mango trees and avocado trees, and just kind of hanging out back there with everybody and being able to taste through all of this stuff. And always moments like that when we're pitching ourselves, because it's really wonderful, beautiful people making beautiful products, and to be a part of that is a real pleasure.
Well, and that's one thing that I've noticed with a lot of artisanal brands is the people behind it are so humble. They're phenomenal with how nice and polite they are when you meet them. And like I've never had an experience going to Mexico and where I've met those individuals that are unsavory or anything like that. Everybody's always so nice. Everybody's always so welcoming. Like, how could you not love tequila?
Absolutely. And especially with some of these families that are behind, some of these distilleries, right? Where there's generations of know-how and generations of kind of legacy and respect and all of these things that are built up into this process. And there's a lot of pressure in that, but there's also, I think a lot to be excited about. And yeah, we're beyond thrilled to be able to collaborate with Java and Benjamin and the rest of the Rosales family there, and they're amazing people and have a great team, and it's been fun too to see the love for 1123 grow here in the U.S. as well. Along with that,
It's probably my second, if not, it's tied probably for number one.
amazing. And who else
But
you got? Yeah,
honestly, 1414 is right up there.
do amazing things. Yep.
Siempre, Lost Lore coming out of there.
Great people
I
too.
mean, even Viva Mexico, like, there's a lot of good brands that are coming out of the Vivanco distillery as well. And you had mentioned, about being excited. And we've seen so far with the new release on kind of where you're at with the explorations and what is going to go on with you guys for 2025.
Yeah, so we're really excited about 2025. So just launched the volume 2 of the exploration series. We'll actually have volume 3 of the exploration series coming out, I think, within the first half of the year as well. That's been a project that we've been working on for a while as well, so we'll be excited to get that out. And then this Las Rocas expression, that was a project that was 2.5 years in the making, with the making of that concrete egg. And yeah, you're right, it was a custom built piece of equipment for us in California, and we had to get it from Sonoma, California down to the distillery, and that took a long time, but we were able to do it with the help of a great logistics partner of ours. And it got down to the road of the distillery, and they opened up the garage doors to an area of the warehouse, and moved it inside, and didn't move it any further because it was such a beast. And so so now that it's in there, it's there, and we're very happy about that, because the operational, the logistics and complication around that effort was a big one, but to not have to do it over and over again is also a big deal. Having to get barrels from France to Mexico and manage that entire process with Commercial Isadora services and kind of these folks that help us through all of that. That's an entire beast of a process. We do that much more frequently than we'll ever have to do, the concrete egg. So yeah, so from an operational perspective, we're excited about that. But really, I think to continue getting this new Las Rocas expression out in the market, we're very proud of it, and think that it's of course a shipper, one that is quite sessionable as well. But we've also made some absolutely incredible cocktails, and we're starting to see more and more markets out this way. I know in Vegas too, in California, that aren't afraid to throw out a 18 or 17 or $21 top shelf margarita cocktail or, top shelf tequila cocktail, on there, and think that that's, one that we want to start exploring with this expression. We'll have our batch 5 of the Heritage, release that'll be coming up actually on the same truck as the volume 2 of this exploration series. And so that'll be exciting. And then we'll be doing a handful of single barrels this year, which will be a fun deal because, we did the one project where we first started with the client up in Colorado. But since then we've kind of had our head down running in these different directions for Las Rocas and some of these other things. But there's been a lot of demand for these single barrels, but we just want to do it in a way that's reflective of our brand and what we stand for. And so we're only going to be putting out barrels that are truly extraordinary. And so sometimes those barrels aren't ready, sometimes they are, and we say, hey, we've got a barrel that seems to be ready,
right?
Who wants it, that kind of deal. And so we'll be doing a little bit more of that as well.
So would you say that you're going to make this more of a flagship tequila?
That's right. Yeah, Las Rocas will become a flagship of ours along with the Heritage. So those will be two Blancos, but two Blancos that are very different from each other. And that's one of the things that we wanted to kind of explore with this, was to say, hey, we can have extremely high quality flagship Blanco that's a little bit more traditional looking, that has those elements of minerality just amplified, really nice mouthfeel, comes in at 45% any proof, can be used in cocktails, has this incredible utility, but comes in a package you can also sip it. And I think we're really excited about that. But then put it up against the Heritage Blanco that we have, which is I think a really unique expression with these casks that we're being able to source from some really incredible producers over in Bordeaux and bring it over and run through that entire recipe. But it's still a Blanco, still expresses agave, but in a very different way. So we're excited to have those two as kind of the core flagship SKUs for us.
And now you mentioned the third volume of the exploration. Can you talk a little bit about it, or
are
we keeping it a secret?
No, so the and I think we've talked about it a little bit with some other folks, so it's potentially not a secret at all. But where we're going with this one is a double barrel. So double barrel añejo. So we had some 10-month reposado at an elevated alcohol percentage that we pulled from the casks, and then had just a handful of really beautiful port casks that we had sourced and threw them in those. And so they've been hanging out in those port casks for a few months, and the amount of layers that are popping off on that one, and I mean strawberry, like red berry fruit galore, but a ton of agave. So it's an exciting one, and it'll be one that we're trying to work on the bottle scheduling and everything else. But like I said, we try to bottle when it's ready, right? When it's delicious, when the flavors are there, and they're fast approaching. So so we're excited about that one, and so the kind of staggered releases and the cadence that we have with these exploration series may not be there really, right? It's more of like a flavor flavor designation than a time designation or a release designation or anything like that we're going for. And so if the flavors are there, then we're going to bottle it up and get it out to market.
Very nice. So I know this is actually on a lot of people's minds. When are you guys going to release the dates for Good Juice?
Oh, that's amazing, dude. So when does this podcast come out?
So I'll edit it, and then we'll stick it out there,
and then blast it out. Okay, all right. So we'll be announcing date in at the beginning of February. So so we have a few things to kind of work out here in the last week and a half or so of January, but we'll be releasing dates in the beginning of February. We're going to be moving it this year we're looking at Austin, Texas, actually, and that's one of the things that we want to do is listen to the brands that are coming out for good juice and try to understand what are important markets for them. And because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do here with good juice. Is, it's a collective of incredibly high quality brands that we all, me and Lucie and other folks geek out about, really, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And, and we're nerds about this stuff as much as, other folks that drink them. And so we want to try and serve them as best as we possibly can. And we know that California is a huge, important market for them, Texas, Florida, New York, there are a handful of others. And, but I think we're going to have that one big event in Austin here in 2025, and then we'll go to 2026 for the other big event.
I think 2026 should be Vegas.
Man, sounds awesome. The hard part about Nevada is, I think, the kind of distribution and some of those things out there. For a lot of these brands, I know for a lot of these brands, Nevada is kind of a later addition for distribution.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part for the consumer, because we either have to go to California or elsewhere or order online in order to get it. But I think, if we're able to get a festival or, an event such as Good Juice, I think that may spark the way distribution is done in Nevada.
Oh, it's cool to know, because, we, after Good Juice in 2024, there were a handful of hospitality groups and hotels and, other folks like that had reached out to us about collaborating on other events, and something that we're happy to do, of course, and just kind of be this curation arm, and kind of line of sight for these great brands, to come out to some of these different events. But as far as the grand tasting, like we did in May of last year in San Diego, we're focused on doing that in Austin in 2025, and I think it'll be a really fun time. There was a lot of things that we learned from the last event. It's a bit of an experiment to just launch into that deal, but at the end of the day, as consumers in the space, we're really looking for more curation, from the different festivals, and then as brands in the space, that curation element is important as well. But there are other things that were helpful as brands, and the night before that Good Juice, the Good Juice kind of grand tasting, we had a brand leadership dinner where we all came together and did a bottle share and rented out a big space, and all had a little bit of supper together, and really just hung out for 4 or 5 hours, talking about the industry and all the things that we're seeing. And I think that's important to be able to collaborate with each other and kind of create this this tribe of high quality spirits producers and brands that really care about educating and getting better juice out into the market more broadly. So really, we're not competitors against each other as much as we are competitors against the default options that are out there. And the default options are available in all 50 states and have huge marketing budgets and all these other things. And so if we can all come together and explore ways that we can be better together, I think that's better for the industry.
Well, that's one thing that I've noticed amongst the artisanal master distillers. They'll attend events that each other's hosting. I mean, there's still that little bit of competition, because every family's still trying to push their brand and get it out there. But there's that community, which the agave community is similar to, I would attribute it similar to the law enforcement community. It's like a brotherhood almost amongst brands. You don't give away your secrets, but you're not out there trying to, for lack of better words, cut throats and, not, what is, they're there to help, but not help in the way that they give away their secrets.
Yeah, totally right. Totally right. I mean, because as brand owners, we all want to see our brand win. We all want to do right by stakeholders of our brands and our families and everything else there. That's hugely important. But also kind of the bigger vision of this is, in comparison, we're a drop in the bucket altogether, all combined against global tequila consumption. And
Mm-hmm.
the default options that are out there are not in the same category really of quality. And so that's what Good Juice is about. It's a platform for the enthusiasts and the trade and industry, but also for the brands that really care about these high quality spirits.
And so with those brands, how many brands are we should we expect to be at Good Juice?
So we had a nudge over 60 brands last year, between 400 and 500 folks that came out to the event. And it was great. It was a great first event. And like I said, we had a lot of fun. I think other folks had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot in the process about, I think, the importance of curation, first and foremost. But also, I think there's some elements on kind of administrative flow things that we could change up to make the whole thing a little bit better. I think some of the most value add elements of Good Juice were being able to listen to Sergio Vivanco and Carlos Camarino and Chava have a discussion with Christina from Volans that's moderating. You're like, that's insane, right? Like, to be able to just have access to a group of individuals like that is absolutely ridiculous. But I think we didn't do a great job of making sure that that the entire all the attendees of the festival knew when those panels were going on, some of those other things. So that's one of the things that we're going to be changing up this year is the organization around that, just making sure that folks are familiar and aware with all of the amazing people that are in attendance from the brand side of things, and if there's an opportunity to to hear them speak and to share industry insights and things that they're seeing in the world, and folks want to listen to that they're well aware of when that's going to be. So that'll be a big change for us for sure.
Well, and so, as you said, to get more information out, I've seen not necessarily tequila festivals or anything like that, but I have music festivals. They create the website or the app, and you can just go directly into it, and see exactly when, who's playing or who's speaking. Is there any insight or any potential that you guys are going to do more or less, an app for the festival?
It's a great idea, and it's something that we've been thinking about for sure. Is being able to put more information in attendees' hands around this event. You look at some of the other kind of bigger industry events like BCB and some of these other things that are out there. They throw great events, and there are other events in the wine and spirit space that are wonderful as well to attend as consumers. And what we're trying to do with Good Juice is have kind of a meeting of the minds for consumers, enthusiasts, trade, and brands to all come together and to have a meeting place and a platform for everybody that cares about high quality juice. And so if it's creating technology that makes that easier, that's definitely in the pipeline for us. But we're also not trying to get over our skis too quickly here. We're more so just trying to, I think we have some momentum with Good Juice as a platform, and we're trying to do best by the brands there in the best way that we possibly can. And we really enjoy it as consumers in the category as well. So we're excited about it.
Well, I look forward to the release of the dates. And John, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. Where can people find you guys, both on social media, and how many states are you in?
So we're in approximately 9 states now. We're in California and Colorado, Texas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Missouri, Kansas, and just opened up in Arkansas as well. And I think we'll be looking at a few other markets here pretty soon. But trying to focus up as well with with the markets that we're in. We have a kind of a direct consumer piece of our business that great that allows us to get in front of customers and clients that are in other states and ship to approximately 40 states through some of our fulfillment providers here, which is great. And folks can just go to montagave.com or Instagram at Montagave, goodjuice.com or Instagram at goodjuice. And it's Lucie and I that are behind all those things. So if you reach out through any of those channels, it's going to be one of us. And we're happy to chat really anytime. So folks, reach out, please. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, perfect. John, thanks so much. If you guys get a chance, go out and get a bottle of the Las Rocas. I don't think you can find this anywhere now, unless it's on the secondary market, in which, good luck. But it is amazing. John, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Again, everyone, thanks for tuning in.
My pleasure. Thanks, man. It's good visiting with you, man. Thank you.
Likewise.